Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and I'm flying solo today. Robert Meyer Burnett was going to be on here, but he fell a little bit ill last night, so he's just kind of resting up. He'll be back on Friday. Tomorrow, I've got Greg Alba joining me from The Real Rejects. I've been looking forward to having him on, and you'll notice that we're shooting in Studio B today because in my studio at my company, Power Media, in our studio down there, we are shooting something else that I can't talk to you about yet right now, but we're shooting something else on my set. Actually, we had to tear my set down, build up another set, and we're shooting something there right now, and I'll tell you guys more about that another time. Although I do want to share something with you guys. I put this up on my social media yesterday. Just thought I'd share it with you now. Many of you guys know, most of you know, that I took over as an executive at this company. I'm part owner of this company now called Power Media, and I'm kind of running that studio now. And one of the shows that we produce there by the wonderful comedian Johnny McGovern, it's called Hey Queen. And yesterday, Netflix just announced that Hey Queen will start airing on Netflix. It's starting in the UK on December 17th, and then it'll roll out in other countries after that. But we are super proud of both the show and of Johnny McGovern. So congratulations to everybody there, and we're very excited about that. But we are here today to talk about some stuff in the world of movies, movie news, and a little bit of television, some other things like that. And we're going to start off in the world of television, guys, off the top. The last couple of days, CW has ran their annual Arrowverse crossover show. I have loved these crossovers, and they were doing, the theme of this year was Elseworlds. We all saw the promos where Barry and Oliver switch bodies, a little bit of Freaky Friday, that they were introduced Batwoman to see if maybe they can turn that into a show and all that kind of stuff. So I watched it. Here are my thoughts on the Elseworlds thing. Not bad. It was pretty good. There were certainly some wonderful moments. Certainly some wonderful moments. It felt a little fast and loose in how it put itself together. It almost felt like it was a little bit of an afterthought. They had some wonderful ideas, had some great scenes. But at the end of it, for those of you guys who watched it, it ends with saying, coming next year, Crisis on Infinite Earths. And really, when that title card came up, and we kind of knew that was coming, but when that title card came up that said, next year, Crisis on Infinite Earths, it rang very true with me. Because I was like, that's what's missing. This whole thing this year just kind of felt like a setup. And like I said, some marvelous moments. I enjoyed it. But like compared to Crisis on Earth X, that was like last year, and maybe one or two of the others number 4, it felt thinner. You know what I mean? And it wasn't because they didn't have Legends of Tomorrow on it. It just, there was something missing. There was like a dimension missing. And when that Crisis on Infinite Earths coming next year came up, it's like, yeah, that's it. This whole thing really just felt like a setup for something else. And that's where it came up a little bit short compared to previous years. Still pretty good. Still worth watching. Still some great moments. And I had a good time with it. I thought the Monitor character was really interesting, although they were a little contradictory, the Monitor character, but whatever. Having the original Flash in there again was great. All that kind of stuff. Having the black suit Superman, a little taste, a little drop of Injustice Gods Among Us, if you will. A Superman in black, a Superman from another reality comes, blah, 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 they got to fight, whatever, a little bit of that. Although you guys knew I couldn't get through talking about Elseworlds without bringing this up. Once again, CW doubles down on unbuckling their pants, pulling the pants down to around their knees, getting a good solid squat over, and shitting all over Superman. CW just cannot resist any opportunity. And I love CW. I mean, they're the home of Smallville, one of my favorite shows for years. I enjoy the Arrowverse. I love CW. But for whatever reason, it's like CW's, favorite hobby in the world. Unbuckle the pants, pull them down your knees, get a good solid squat, and just shit all over Superman. They just love shitting all over Superman. They just hate Superman. For whatever reason, this damn network just hates Superman. And any chance they get to make him look useless and make him look stupid and make him look completely unimportant because we got Supergirl. They'll take it. They'll take it. All Superman did this entire thing was get his ass kicked. Every single time they had him in there, he was getting his ass kicked. The one contribution, I should say two. He made two contributions. One, he read the book, but they even undid that. And two, he saved Lois Lane from falling. He saved Lois Lane from falling. Good for you, Superman. All rest of the time, getting his ass kicked left, right, and center, completely useless. And then to just put an exclamation point on it to really take that squat over position and really get that last little nugget out. They decided, you know what? We haven't humiliated Superman enough. We gotta go that extra mile. Let's humiliate him even more. Let's once again have Superman talking to Kara and emphasize that Kara's way stronger than him. So Superman stands there. I always forget just how much stronger you are than me. And then even that wasn't enough. They had to humiliate Superman even more by ending it with him going, the world doesn't need Superman as long as it's got Supergirl. And I had to pause because I was watching this after the fact. I watched this early this morning and I had to pause it on CW. I paused it and I'm like, did they actually just go that far? Did they have to humiliate and degrade Superman so much that they just had to have Superman himself say, world doesn't need me. World doesn't need me. I'm just Superman. I'm the butt end of the joke. I'm a loser. I just show up and get my ass kicked by everybody and then tell everybody how much better they are than me. That's my whole job here. So you know what? Supergirl, as long as you're here, the world doesn't need me. I'm just frivolous. I have no point. CW hates Superman. They never pass up on an opportunity to just screw him over and make him look useless and like an idiot. And I've told you guys this before, and some of you don't believe me. He is simply there to be a jobber. A jobber is a wrestling term. A jobber in wrestling is a wrestler whose only purpose is there to make the other wrestler look good. That's what a jobber is. So like this week on Wrestling Superstars, we have Andre the Giant battling Teddy. And of course, Teddy would come out. You never heard of Teddy. And Teddy is simply there to let Andre the Giant beat the hell out of him to let Andre the Giant look good, right? It's an age-old honored tradition in wrestling, jobbers. Superman is a jobber. They have turned him into a jobber. His only purpose for being on this in the CW universe is to continue to try to make Supergirl look better. That's his job. It's Superman's job. It's like, well, it doesn't mean much if just regular human beings on the show say Supergirl's amazing. It doesn't mean much if just like Brainy says she's amazing. And it doesn't really mean all that much if Martian Manhunter says she's all amazing. You know what we got to do? We got to get Superman in here. Get Superman in. Let's get him get his ass kicked. Constantly bow to Supergirl and say how much better she is than he is to her, than she is to him, I should say. Just turn him into a total jobber. And even when they did that, they said, not enough. Let's do it even more. Let's do it in the Elseworlds crossover. He's getting his ass kicked all the time while Supergirl comes in and saves everybody. But that's still too subtle. Let's really put an exclamation mark. Let's have Superman say the world doesn't need me because it's got you. And I've said this before, but I will say it again. Fuck that Supergirl show. Fuck them. Because you know what? As much as as traditionally I have liked Arrow, and I love the character Arrow, and I love what they're doing with Oliver, I would say the exact same thing if they brought in Batman. This is the exact same thing. It's like if they went, we need to get Green Arrow over more with people. Let's bring in Batman and have Batman get his ass kicked, and then have Batman say to Oliver, "You're so much better than me, Green Arrow. What the hell am I doing here?" And then when the whole thing's over, have Batman go, "You know, Ollie, Gotham doesn't need me because I'm useless. As long as it's got you, Ollie, that's all the city needs. I'm going to go to Tahiti." You know, that would be the same thing. It would be ridiculous and unacceptable and stupid if they turned Batman into a jobber, and that's what they've done to Superman. To Superman, the king of all superheroes, the granddaddy of them all, the Bret Hart of the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, and they've turned him into a sniveling, ass-kicked little jobber. Fuck you, CW. Fuck you for what you've done to Superman. I'm not saying don't put Supergirl over. I'm not saying don't put Green Arrow over. But there are other ways you could do it without humiliating and dumping on the greatest superheroes of all time who made your brand. There would be no DC if it wasn't for Batman. There would be no DC if there wasn't for Superman. And you treat them like this? So screw that show, man. Screw that show. However, I digress. Overall, it was fun. The overall Elseworlds thing was fun. I thought the Batwoman introduction was good. Again, I wasn't all that thrilled with that scene between Supergirl and Batwoman going, "We're the world's finest." No, Batman and Superman are the world's finest. You two are derivative characters, so no. No. But besides that, I actually liked the Batwoman character. I thought Ruby Rose was actually really good. And I got to tell you what, if CW decides to do a Batwoman show, sign me up. Sign me up. As long as they don't then have Batman come back just for her to kick his ass and have Batman go, "Oh, I guess Gotham doesn't need me anymore." Like, as long as you don't do that, that's great. I actually like the character. I thought Ruby Rose was strong in the role. I know a lot of people were dumping on her, but I actually thought she was quite good. So anyway, overall, there's that. So, yeah, I just spent 10 minutes ranting on that. I get so mad when you disrespect Superman. I just get so freaking mad when you disrespect Superman, and they have just dumped all over Superman, and it pisses me off. Anyway, let's move on to some other stuff, shall we? Some happier things. Okay, let's go on now to our main topics. And how do we select our main topics around here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really quite simple, guys. You guys select our main topics by emailing me your topics and questions anytime to john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Guys, make sure you put that word topic in the subject line. And as always, keep your emails to 90 words or less. With that out of the way, let's get on with the first email today. And the first email today comes to us from Denny McVeigh, who writes, "The hype for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and the buzz for Mortal Engines has almost disappeared altogether. So my question is, with some people saying Spider-Verse could actually get a Best Picture nomination, how badly will it dominate Mortal Engines at the box office this weekend?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, Denny. And yeah, there's a couple of elements there. You know, does it actually have Oscar chances? But let's talk about the box office this weekend. If we go back about 10 months and we looked at this weekend coming out, and you got this animated Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse thing, which I admittedly at the time thought, this doesn't sound like a good idea. That was me, Tim. I said, maybe it could be good, might work out, but seems like an odd idea to do. An animated Spider-Man while you got live action Spider-Man going, doesn't seem like all that great of an idea. Starting to look like a pretty good, damn good idea now, isn't it? But I admit I was one of those guys. I was. And then you look at Mortal Engines, not a super popular book series, but it's being done by Peter Jackson. He's kind of the orchestrator of this whole thing. And it certainly is a book series that has its followers. I would have probably said, I think a lot of us, to be fair, I think a lot of us probably would have said 10 months ago that, hey, you know, Mortal Engines will probably win that weekend, but hey, maybe Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse can do okay. Well, it looks like Mortal Engines is about to get its mortal ass kicked, because the projection numbers are out right now for this coming weekend at the box office. And right now, by almost triple, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is being projected to easily win the weekend with the range they're giving it right now is $30 to $39 million. So maybe it could hit like 40 or something. Mortal Engines, $100 million movie, could make as little as $10 million this weekend. And the reviews are not helping it. Now, the earliest reactions I heard to Mortal Engines were quite positive. But as more and more responses started to come out, the last time I checked on Rotten Tomatoes, Mortal Engines was sitting around a 35%. Now, I'm going to go see Mortal Engines tonight. So I'll give you guys my thoughts on the movie in the morning, and I'll let you know what I thought of it. But right now, it is poised to get its mortal ass kicked by making a range, what they're predicting is 10 to maybe up as high as $17 million. So it's just going to get throttled by Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Just throttled by it. Then, we've also got, this was a latecomer. Remember, they only announced The Mule a number of months ago for opening in this window. But we got the new Clint Eastwood movie, The Mule. Its projections, $12 to $20 million. Essentially, right now, the projections are that The Mule is going to make more money than Mortal Engines this weekend. It does not look good. You know, Mortal Engines could be threatening Robin Hood for the biggest flop of the year. Now, it looked like for a while that Robin Hood was going to be the biggest flop of the year. But it very well could be Mortal Engines now. It very well could be Mortal Engines. So we'll have to see. Now, 30 to 39 million is still probably not what fans of this franchise wanted to hear. Probably wanted to hear like 70 million, 80 million opening weekend. But hey, guess what? This is a new type of thing. I think if Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse can come in with like a 30 to 39 million dollars, that's not bad. And with the word of mouth this movie is getting, it could very well have some pretty decent legs. Of course, the big problem is next weekend it's going to run into Bumblebee, which is getting incredible reviews. Aquaman, which is getting very solid reviews. We have Mary Poppins opening up, which is getting Oscar buzz. So it's going to be a challenging road for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So let's see how that all kind of transpires. But you know what? This brings up the other thing. How good is this Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse film? Now, I was supposed to go see it last night. And quite frankly, guys, I ran out of gas. I just ran out of gas. And it was one of those situations where the screening was an hour drive away. So I had to pass on it. I didn't have the gas in the tank to do more. It's been a long couple of weeks. I was exhausted and I just didn't go. So I'm going to go see it Thursday night. I'm going to go see it tomorrow night. So I haven't seen it yet. But it's not, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is not just getting surprisingly good reviews, guys. It's getting rave reviews. As a matter of fact, it is one of the best reviewed movies of the year. Not just one of the best reviewed animated films of the year. Not just one of the best comic book movies of the year. It is the best critically rated film of the year. Right now, on Rotten Tomatoes, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is holding a 99% rating. 120 reviews, and there was only one negative review from some film critic I never heard of. And I'm not putting words in his mouth. By his own review, the main reason he didn't like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was because he wasn't a big fan of the animation style. I'm not making that up. I'm not putting words in his mouth. He himself said, I'm giving this a negative review because I didn't like the animation style. Which, you know what? If that was that important to him, that it made him not enjoy the movie, so be it. All films subjective, perfectly fine. That's fair play. But again, 120 reviews, only one review that said they didn't like it, and that was because they didn't like the animation style. But it's not just that the movie has a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is important too. You can have a movie that has a 95% rating, but the average critic score is like 6.5 out of 10. That just means that everybody liked it. That 95% means 95% of critics liked it. It doesn't mean they all loved it, but it means they all liked it. The Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse reviews, not only does it have a 99%, but its average critic score is 9 out of 10. You can have 99% and be 6.5 out of 10. That just means everybody likes it. It just means it's good. But Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse not only has 99% Rotten Tomatoes rating, of those 120 reviews, the average score is 9 out of 10. The average score is 9 out of 10. That is better scores than Avengers Infinity War. That is better scores than Black Panther. That's better scores than Incredibles 2. That's better scores than a hell of a lot of the big Oscar movies. And here's the funny thing. I was reading an article in Variety. And in Variety, this isn't some Eddie's gas station movie blog. This isn't some John Campea Show uselessness. This was Variety. Variety's writing, you know what? There is a legit possibility, not certainty, possibility. You're looking at a film here that could end up getting a Best Picture nomination. And you know what? Here's the funny thing. I've heard a number of film critics who have seen this movie. Again, I was supposed to see it last night and I skipped out on it. But I've been hearing from a number of film critics that this movie is not just their favorite comic book movie of the year, and that's ahead of Infinity War, ahead of Black Panther, ahead of Ant-Man, ahead of Aquaman, ahead of everything else, this one, but not just their favorite animated film of the year. That's over Incredibles 2, that's over Wreck-It Ralph, that's over a lot of really good films. I've heard a number of film critics say this is in their top 5 favorite movies of the year, period. And I've heard that and go, wow, that's impressive. Wow, that's impressive. But never once really considering that an Academy would actually consider Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse a Best Picture. But now I'm seeing like major trades like Variety saying, there's a shot that this movie here, this animated comic book movie, very well could get a Best Picture of the Year nomination. Very well could. They're not guaranteeing it. It may even be unlikely, but it's definitely possible. And then I read in another one of the major trades that said the exact same thing. That's like, everybody, hold your horses. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is actually that good. And again, I didn't see it last night. I'm going to go see it tomorrow, like when a lot of you guys are going to see it. Could it? I'll tell you what. It is arguably the best critically rated film of the year. Now, granted, it's animated, but it's a non-white lead with Miles Morales. It's a comic book movie. There's been some growing momentum with comic book movies at the Oscars. Last year, Logan, first comic book movie ever in history to get the major Academy Award nomination of Best Screenplay. Never happened before, and it did. There's a lot of groundswell with Black Panther. There's a huge pop culture movement with Avengers Infinity War. Is it really that crazy to think for a moment that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse might get one of those shots? You know what? I don't think that's crazy. I haven't seen the film myself yet. But when you look at the environment and you're taking all this into consideration and you're seeing all these other things being done, it's actually not as preposterous to think that an animated comic book movie might actually get a Best Picture nomination. Now, I can't speak personally as to whether it deserves it, because again, I haven't seen it. But if you hear people talking about it, don't dismiss them as crazy, because I just think there's a lot here that's kind of working in its favor at the moment. So what do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, let's move on now to email number 2. And the second email today comes to us from Natalie W, who writes, "Hey, John, I love it when I hear you talk about Parks and Recreation." Well, I love talking about Parks and Recreation. It's by far my favorite show of all time, and I miss it so much. I saw that Amy Poehler was talking about a Parks and Rec reunion, which would be amazing. What do you think? What do you think the chances are for Parks and Rec to return, and would you be open to it? All right, thanks a lot for the email, Natalie. And yes, one of my all-time favorite sitcoms is Parks and Rec. The only sitcoms I really have above it are probably Seinfeld and The Office. Those are probably the only two I put above it. Parks and Rec was a genius show. And I've mentioned this before. It was a show that I was late to the party to because I just thought it was an Office ripoff. Same shooting style, same network, but it's just an Office ripoff. And I'm so glad I got turned on to it, because it is just simply one of the best. It's fantastic. And a little part of me died. It's one of those shows that Ann and I, every week when Parks and Rec aired, we made sure we made no plans that night. We were staying home, eating in, and we were watching Parks and Rec together. And to this day, at least once a week, we'll just sit down on the couch and play roulette on Hulu or Netflix and just go, blah, blah, random episode, click, and just watch a random episode of Parks and Rec, and we know we're going to laugh and have a great time. Love that show. Went off the air in 2015. It's crazy to think it was that long ago. It feels like just yesterday this show was on. Anyway, a lot of people have been dying to see The Office come back, but a lot of people are dying to see Parks and Rec. And Amy Poehler actually just poured a lot of fuel on that fire. Amy Poehler was asked about the idea of doing a Parks and Rec reunion, and this is what she said. I have like 6 of Leslie's, that's her character in Parks and Rec. I have 6 of Leslie's blazers in my closet, so anytime. Our king, Mike Schur, is busy doing his highly successful show, The Good Place. So we really can't jump without Mike. So when Mike is good and ready, I'm sure we'll show up like good soldiers. Amy Poehler. So she's saying, hey, look, it's all, the only thing here is a matter that Mike, who is the showrunner of Parks and Rec, and now he's doing The Good Place, which is also one of Ann's favorite shows. He's busy. But she's saying, and remember, the whole cast stay in touch. They talk about each other all the time. She's saying, hey, as soon as Mike says go, we're ready. We'll go do it. Look, you're asking me, Natalie, do I think it could happen? Well, if Amy Poehler is saying this, I think the answer is obviously yes. This is something that could happen. Will it happen? I'll give it a 40% chance that it actually happens. Would I be up for it happening? Hell yes. Hell yes, I'm up for this happening. Absolutely. Just make it happen and I'm there. All right, let's move on now to the next email. And the next email today comes to us from Azrin, who writes, my question is, according to The Hollywood Reporter, Scott Derrickson is returning to direct Doctor Strange 2. I personally can't wait to see his vision in the mystic world again. What are your thoughts on this? Thanks for taking my question. Have a great day. All right, thanks a lot for the question, Azrin. And yes, reports came out yesterday in The Hollywood Reporter. Hollywood Reporter's not only saying that Scott Derrickson, who directed, I believe he wrote and directed the first Doctor Strange movie, that he's not just in talks to return, they're saying it's done. They're saying Scott Derrickson very quietly went about finalizing his deal to come back and do Doctor Strange 2. Now, this is interesting on several levels. On level number 1, it's our first real confirmation that Doctor Strange 2 is coming. Now, this is one of the worst kept secrets, almost as badly kept as Spider-Man's coming back, almost as badly kept as Black Panther is coming back. We all knew there was going to be another Doctor Strange. But this is the first real thing from a real, like one of the major trades saying it's done deal. Marvel has signed on the director to come back and direct the second one. And that's great. I love Doctor Strange. It was a wonderful, fun, imaginative, bonkers kind of movie. It was everything we wanted a Doctor Strange movie to be. And I enjoyed it immensely. So I love that we got confirmation that they're going to come back. Once again, further confirmation that one way or another, the effects of the snap is going to be undone in Avengers 4. Now, whether it's going to be undone as in they fix everything, whether it's going to be undone as in a new universe is created out of it where exact carbon copies of all the originals are existing, whatever way they do it, the effects of the snap are clearly going to be undone. We already knew that because Spider-Man was coming back. We already knew that because Ryan Coogler said he's coming back to direct Black Panther 2. But Black Panther died. Well, he's coming back. And now we know it with Doctor Strange coming back as well. But Doctor Strange died. Yeah, I know, but he's coming back. So we know all that. Now, as far as them bringing back Scott to direct it, it's a great idea. I mean, Doctor Strange is one of those properties, and we said this for years, that is tricky. I mean, because it is so out there, right? It is so different. Much like Guardians of the Galaxy was a very different set of characters to do from their traditional characters, Doctor Strange is it was really brought us into the mystical for the MCU. And that was different. And how you handle that was going to be tricky. Scott came in and did it and did a great job. So I, for one, am very happy, number one, that we are getting a Doctor Strange 2, and that's pretty much confirmed. But I'm also very happy that Scott's coming back to do the sequel. I think that was really key because I think what he did in that first one is going to be difficult to replicate. It's going to be difficult, a little tricky to really capture the DNA of that. So I think in this circumstance, at least for the sequel, to get the same director back is probably a good move. I mean, hey, look, you go out and get somebody else for Doctor Strange 3, sure, but I think at least for the sequel, just to give you one more, template for how this Doctor Strange world really works, I think it was a good idea to go and get Scott back, and I'm glad he's coming back, and I cannot wait to see Doctor Strange 2. All right, let's move on now to the next email. And the next email today comes to us from Hank Dunn, who writes, "Been listening to you for nearly a decade now. Wow. Thanks for being around, Hank. Everyone wants to talk about how big of a year Disney has next year, and they do. But what about Warner Brothers? They've got a pretty good year with films like Shazam, Godzilla 2, the Lego Movie 2, Detective Pikachu, It Chapter 2, and Joker. Thoughts, and bring on the filthy." All right. First of all, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, look, Disney is getting all the buzz for their upcoming 2019. And for good reason. Disney's year coming up in 2019 not only looks amazing, but is poised to probably be the biggest box office year in any studio's history, right? And why wouldn't we predict that? Because you got movies like Avengers 4. You got Star Wars Episode 9. You got Frozen 2. You've got Lion King. You got Aladdin. You got Toy Story 4. And on top, you got other films coming out there as well. Like Artemis Fowl is coming out as well. You got a whole bunch of these things. And by the way, most of these films look like they have the potential to be $1 billion films. One or two of them could actually hit $2 billion films, right? Nutty. So it's understandable that when we've been talking about 2019, a lot of the attention has been on Disney and what they have coming. Totally understandable. But let's not take away from the fact that Warner Brothers has a really interesting year coming up. I mean, you mentioned Shazam, which I'm very excited for that film. It was probably like the big surprise hit of last year, and everybody loved it. So moving into It Chapter 2 has everybody really excited. This Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, oh my God, are you kidding me? This could be amazing. We got Godzilla, King of the Monsters coming. New trailer dropped the other day. We were talking about it. The world is going nuts over this Godzilla 2 trailer. Looks incredible. Warner Brothers, in the shadow of Disney, has very quietly put together a really impressive looking lineup for 2019. And it is a bit of a shame that it's been overshadowed by what's going on at Disney. Now, let's be clear here. The Warner Brothers lineup is in no way, shape, or form going to challenge Disney's lineup as far as box office goes. That Disney lineup is a complete murderer's row. It's going to dominate the box office next year, no doubt about it. Nothing in Warner Brothers' arsenal is going to come close to touching the Disney box office dominance. However, quality-wise, look, I think Shazam looks like a really special film. It Chapter 2 has a world of potential because that first one was so damn good. And you guys know what I think about this Joker movie. I am ridiculously stoked for this Joker movie. Now, do I think Shazam's going to be as good as Avengers 4? No, but it doesn't need to be as good as Avengers 4. It's a standalone, big meat superhero movie, and it could be really special and really great. But then Warner Brothers, like as far as thriller and like a horror thriller kind of angle, they've got those bases totally covered way over Disney. When you're talking about it, you're talking about Godzilla, things like that. There's that. And then the Joker thing, which is going to be very, very interesting to see. Plus, you got a lot of other really good looking little dramas coming out next year too. So while Warner Brothers is not going to come anywhere near Disney's results next year, nowhere near the results, quality-wise, let's keep our eyes on it because it could be a very, very special year for Warner Brothers. So let's see how that all kind of comes together. All right, let's move on now to the final email today. And the final email today comes to us from Angry Irish Benjamin, who writes, "So, on Tuesday, the 11th of December, 2018, that was yesterday, Once Upon a Deadpool opened up in my neck of the woods for one night only. I went to see it. and it was awesome. Don't know if you've seen it or not, but trust me, you are going to love it. Well, I certainly hope I do, man. And once again, we've been talking a lot about Once Upon a Deadpool, right? Here's the thing, though. The critic reviews are coming out, and I've been excited. You guys know I have been excited for Once Upon a Deadpool. I'm a massive Deadpool fan. I'm a massive Ryan Reynolds fan. I've been the marketing for this thing has been incredible. I've been really interested in seeing what this movie is going to be. Gotta tell you what, though. The reviews have not been good. Once Upon a Deadpool, which all of a sudden the reviews have been pulled. Hold on a second. Let me just check this out. Because it seems like Once Upon a Deadpool just removed all... No, there they are. They're back. Okay. Right now, it's got a 54% on Rotten Tomato. And even the ones that are liking it are not all that enthusiastic about it. As a matter of fact, some of them are just outright negative. Here's what Jermaine Lucier said. He's our friend he's been on my shows before. He writes over for IO9, right? Great film critic. He wrote this about Deadpool, Once Upon a Deadpool. He wrote, if you are okay paying the price of a movie ticket to see an inferior version of a movie you've already seen with about 15 minutes of really great new stuff, then go see Once Upon a Deadpool. Fanboy Nation, right? While the scenes with Fred Savage are absolutely hilarious, they're not enough to warrant a recommendation for a neutered version of Deadpool 2. Hollywood Reporter wrote this. I like this one too. In the end, the whole cleanup project is as shrug-worthy as most of the unrated director's cut edits that go in another direction on home video, promising more nudity and gore, but changing little of the consequences. And IndieWire wrote, it's a shell of itself, with Fred Savage on hand to occasionally note how weird it is. So yeah, overall, even the people that are liking the film are kind of saying, meh, but was it actually worth buying a movie ticket to go and see? And I was kind of hoping, I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest with you. I don't know that ultimately, what was I hoping for in Deadpool 2? Or in Once Upon a Deadpool? What was I hoping to get out of it as a film fan? And I think part of me was, number one, have a bunch of interstitial stuff with Fred Savage. Great. But I think I was also hoping that the movie would feel different. That it's not just edited, but that it feels different. I was hoping that the jokes about the PG-13-ness of it wouldn't just be limited to those 10 to 15 minutes that we cut away to Fred Savage and Deadpool together. I was kind of hoping they would do something that fundamentally changed the experience of watching Deadpool 2. And maybe that was unrealistic of me to hope for. As it turns out, it looks like it was. Because all the reviews I'm reading, the good and the bad, are just saying, no, it really is just Deadpool 2 with some of the stuff edited out and a few extra minutes of Fred Savage and Deadpool doing some really funny stuff for a few minutes. And I gotta tell you, I'm disappointed to hear it. Now, it doesn't open here until today. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not even sure I'm going to run out to see it now. I mean, I want to support it because I love Deadpool. I love Ryan Reynolds, good Canadian kid. But after hearing all this stuff, I got to tell you, my enthusiasm's been sapped. When I'm hearing like, hey, if you're good for paying price of a movie ticket just so you can go see a movie you've already seen with a couple of minutes of extra good stuff, go for it. And now I don't know. So I'm disappointed. I'm curious, for those of you who watched this in the UK and you had a chance to maybe go see it yesterday, what were your thoughts? Clearly, Angry Irish Benjamin really had a good time. Did more of you guys like it? I'd be curious to know your thoughts. Jump down to the comments section below and let me know what you guys think. All right, guys, that's all the emailed in questions we have for today. So let's save a little bit of time now and go over to the live chat board. You guys have been firing in a lot of questions, so let's go over to the live chat board right now and see what you guys have to say. And we're going to have to get things started off here with Jay Bling, who writes, regarding the review embargo for Holmes and Watson, I think Brent meant to ask about press screenings. Have there been any, and will there be any? Yeah, so there was a question that came in the other day that I think Jay Bling is referring to. about review embargoes for Holmes and Watson. I said, well, don't be worried that there's a review embargo. I don't think the movie looks any good. I love Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly together. I'm passionately in love with Step Brothers. I quite enjoyed Talladega Nights, The Legend of Ricky Bobby. But this Holmes and Watson movie, they've only had the one trailer, and I thought it was ass. I just got to be honest. I didn't like the trailer. I wanted to like it. I was so excited for this movie, and I thought the trailer looked terrible. So somebody asked the other day about, there's a review embargo. And I said, well, don't worry about it. Every movie has review embargoes. But they all do. They all just lift at different times. Have there been any press screenings? I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure. I don't read any of the... I don't generally go to press screenings anymore, so I don't read the press screening invites that come in. But I don't remember seeing one. Now that you mention it, I don't remember seeing a press invitation for Holmes and Watson. So maybe there has been, maybe there hasn't been. We'll have to remember, the movie is still like 2.5 weeks away. The movie's still 2.5 weeks away. So it's not like, a lot of times the press screenings don't happen until like 1 full week before the movie happens, and that's totally fine. So I wouldn't worry about that yet at this point. Spencer Main writes, please, boss, don't put that thing on my face. Don't put me in the, I'm afraid of the dark. That is, of course, the great Michael Clarke Duncan. R.I.P., man. I loved Michael Clarke Duncan. And that was his role in the movie with Tom Hanks, where he's in prison. Damn it. What is the damn name of that movie? Hold a second. Michael Clarke Duncan. Why am I forgetting the name of Duncan? It's the one where he really get The Green Mile, of course. Why was I freezing on The Green Mile? I'm not sure. The Green Mile. I loved Michael Clarke Duncan. He's one of the reasons that I like Ben Affleck's Daredevil, because Michael Clarke Duncan played Kingpin. I thought he was a great Kingpin. Then he was in that one with Bruce Willis, The Whole Nine Yards. He was great in that. He said the immortal line, nothing finer than a fine naked woman holding a gun. But said in Michael Clarke Duncan's voice. Oh, man, I miss that guy. So I was so sad when he passed away. Let's see. Jason Ongoko writes, DC should be charged with malpractice. First, they cancel Smallville because of Man of Steel. Well, no, they didn't cancel Smallville because of Man of Steel. Smallville had its run. Smallville was a very long-running show. It very, 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 very few shows in history run as long as Smallville did. So they didn't cancel Smallville because of Man of Steel. Then they cannibal the movie universe by having movie-level storylines like Crisis on Infinite Earths and the CW. Well, look, I don't have any... First of all, the movies have never done Crisis on Infinite Earths. So it's fair game. It's fair game. And this, again, is why it's better that a company like Warner Brothers keeps their television universe and their movie universe separate, so they can both do stuff like this and do them in their own way. That's why it's so great. I have no problem with them doing that. Look, Crisis on Infinite Earths, look, let's put it this way, and I mean this in the most positive way. The CW Arrowverse is a ridiculous version of the DC universe. And I mean that in the most positive of ways, because it's a little ridiculous and crazy, and they embrace that and they turn that to their advantage, and they make some pretty damn entertaining stuff because of it. And Crisis on Infinite Earths, that's not one that was coming to the big screen anytime soon anyway. That's not something that was coming to the big screen anytime soon anyway. I guarantee you, forget that the Arrowverse on TV is using it, there wasn't going to be any kind of a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie in the next 5 to 10 years. Maybe within the next 10, but certainly not within the next 5 years anyway. And the fact that, the CW Arrowverse is going to do that storyline, that's not a hindrance to the movie version, the movies doing their own version of it if they ever want to, which I don't think they do. But if they ever did want to do that storyline, they can. They totally can. CW-verse had a Flash. Well, the movies have a Flash. CW has a Superman. The movies have a Superman. At least they did. And I don't even know that I want to call the Superman on CW actually Superman, because he's just a little, whipping boy that they use to beat up and make everybody else look better because he looks so inept. But I'm not going to go off on that rant again. Don't worry. But yeah, I would say, Jason, I wouldn't fret about it. I wouldn't worry about it. Just because they do something there now, yes, CW has done some really weird, questionable things, like saying, the CW-verse, you can't use Deathstroke anymore because we might have him in the movies. Well, what's the point of having a separate movie and TV thing? You got Flash in both of them. You got Superman in both. I've never understood their rationale behind that. It was idiotic, because Manu Bennett's Deathstroke is one of the best things that they had in the CW Arrowverse. So I hope they bring him back. I really do. I hope they bring him back soon. But again, just because the TV universe uses a story doesn't preclude the movie universe from using it sometime in the future anyway. But again, I don't think they were planning on using it anytime soon regardless. So again, Jason, I wouldn't worry about it. Let's see what happens. Let's see how it transpires. All right. James Welsh writes, did you see the SAG nominations? I did. And you know what? Again, I want to be careful about this. I want to be careful how I say this, because this would be very, very easy to misinterpret what it is I'm trying to say. But I think, again, we are seeing that there is a pressure to include Black Panther in a lot of these nominations. Even though, I am torn as to whether I like Black Panther or Infinity War more. I go back and forth. Some days I think I liked Infinity War more. Some days I think I like Black Panther more. But there's a lot of people out there who will say Black Panther's not even the best comic book movie of the year. Like, there's a lot of people out there who, while I'm kind of riding the fence on it, a lot of people will very definitely say, no, Infinity War was the best comic book movie of the year. What was confusing to me, though, follow me on here. The SAG has this one category called Best Performance by a Cast, right? Best Performance by a Cast. Here's something interesting. The movie called The Favorite, right? With Emma Stone, Rachel Weisz. Anyway, The Favorite. Out of the best lead acting and supporting acting categories, The Favorite has 3 nominees, right? They have, let me just pull this up here. Hold a second. Where did it go? Okay, here we go. Give me a second. Okay. Olivia Colman is nominated at the SAGs for Best Lead Actress. And Best Supporting Actress, they have nominations for both Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz. 3 of the actors from The Favorite have Best Lead and Best Supporting Actor nominations. 3 of their cast have Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor nominations. 3 of them. But guess what? In the SAG category of Best Cast, well, for sure, The Favorite's going to be listed there because 3 of the cast members have Best Acting and Best Supporting Acting nominations. For sure, The Favorite then has to, mathematically speaking, it has to be a nominee for Best Cast. Nope. They bumped it off to give a Best Cast nomination to Black Panther, which has 0 actors or actresses nominated for Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor. The Favorite, the movie called The Favorite, has 3 cast members nominated for Best Lead or Best Supporting Actors. A Star is Born has 2 actors nominated in the major acting categories, and A Star is Born gets a Best Cast nomination. Black Klansman has 1 actor nominated in one of the major acting categories, and it gets a Best Cast nomination. Actually, it might have 2. It has 2. Adam Driver got it, and John David Washington got it. So it has 2. So it gets nominated for Best Cast. Bohemian Rhapsody has 1, Rami Malek. So it gets nominated for Best Cast. The Favorite has 3 actors nominated in the major acting categories, but it does not get a Best Cast nomination. How does that make sense? It's called Best Cast, and 3 of the cast members have Best Acting nominations, more than any of the other films, and it doesn't get nominated for Best Cast. But Black Panther, which has zero actors or actresses nominated in any of the best categories. I thought Michael B. Jordan could have got a Best Supporting Actor nomination, but he didn't, whatever. And yet it gets Best Cast nomination. You got to help me understand that. And by the way, I have no complaints about any of the acting categories. I have none. They're best performance by main actor, best performance by supporting actor, best performance by female actor, best supporting characters, or best supporting performances by female actress. I love all the nominations. I think they're all solid. But again, somebody at SAG, and you know what, my brother-in-law is in SAG. I'm going to have to ask him, please explain to me how you have a Best Cast nomination, and yet a movie, The Favorite, has 3 of its cast members nominated in the major acting categories, but it does not, more than any other film on this list, and it does not get a Best Cast nomination. How do you do that? How do you figure? And yet 2 films that have none. I don't think any, actually. Yeah, 2 films that have none of its cast nominated for any of the major acting categories get a Best Cast nomination in Black Panther and Crazy Rich Asians. Another film I actually quite like, Crazy Rich Asians. I don't know. Somebody's just going to have to explain that to me. Star is Born has 2 nominees, then it gets a Best Cast nomination. Black Klansman has 2 nominees. Maybe my second favorite film of the year, Black Klansman. But anyway, has 2 nominees. Oh, then gets a Best Cast nomination. Bohemian Rhapsody's got 1 of them. Okay, it gets 1. The Favorite has 3. No Best Cast nomination. You got to explain that to me. You got to explain that to me. I understand the Best Cast is talking about the ensemble and all that kind of stuff. Yes, but if 3 of your cast members are so good that they get the Best Acting categories, how does that not get a Best Cast nomination? Somebody's got to explain that to me. But it's like I said a few weeks ago, guys. There's a lot of pressure this year for all these awards bodies to give nominations to Black Panther. And I love you guys saw my review of Black Panther. You know I love Black Panther. I thought Black Panther was not only a really good movie, but it was a very important movie. Really helping to further the cause of breaking down the prejudices and breaking down those old agendas of keeping all the best movie parts and all the best stuff for straight white male people. This is a movie that went so far to break down those old engraved agendas, break through barriers, create all. It's so good, but I feel like you undermine. And I look, I'm going to acknowledge right now, I am very, I'm in the vast minority here with this, but I feel with all the incredible things that Black Panther did, I feel like you undermine it a little bit when you don't give it any nominations for any of the major acting categories, but you give it a Best Cast nomination when another film that had 3 of its cast members nominated in major acting categories doesn't get a Best Cast. There's something that undermines the importance of Black Panther and what it accomplished, I feel like, when you do stuff like this. But that's just me, and I have very little doubt you're going to see the same thing at the Academy Awards. I have very little doubt. At this point, I would say 70% chance that Black Panther is going to get a Best Picture nomination, and it does not deserve it. It doesn't deserve it. It's all subjective. You may feel differently. That's cool if you did. That's the beautiful thing about films. It's all subjective. But it doesn't deserve it, in my opinion. No comic book movie this year did. I got to still see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But I don't think Avengers, and I love Avengers Infinity War. I don't think Avengers Infinity War deserves it. I certainly don't think Venom deserves a Best Picture nomination. I don't think Ant-Man and the Wasp deserves a Best Picture nomination. But despite its... I thought Black Panther was really good. I thought it was great. You guys know how much I enjoyed it. But is it Best Picture? No. But anyway, That's just kind of me. So I'll continue to be alone in my theory on that and what I think about that. And I have no problem having the unpopular opinion. I have never had a problem with it, and I continue to not have a problem with it. Lyle Navin writes, is 70-something% a good rating for Aquaman? Oh my God, it's great. 70% for any movie is a good rating. 70-something%. And by the way, what is Aquaman sitting at now? I thought I heard it was at like 72. Let's see here. Aquaman is sitting at 77. That's a good rating for anybody, for any film. For any movie, that's a good rating. Especially when you're talking about a cinematic universe. Let me get Justice League in here for a second. Where did it go? Justice League, which had a 40%. Batman vs. Superman, which was in the 50% range. Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice has a 27%. Is 77% a good score for Aquaman? Hell yes. Hell yes, that's a good score. That's a good score for any movie. 77% is a good score for any movie. So, yeah, absolutely. Jared's Reviews writes, over under 28%, we get a Frozen 2 trailer before Avengers Endgame comes out. Thanks and bring on the filthy. Well, Avengers Endgame doesn't come out till the end of April. So we got like 4 months. And then I believe Frozen 2 is coming out in November. So April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. That's still 7 months away. 28%. That's a good line. I'll go over 28%. I wouldn't go over 50. So I'm not going to say it's likely we get a Frozen 2 trailer before Avengers Endgame comes out. I think it's actually unlikely, but at 28%, that's a little too unlikely. I'll take the over 28% that we get a Frozen 2 trailer before the end of April. Even though it's still like 7 months out, I'll take over 28%, but I wouldn't take over 50. All right. Spencer Main writes, worst film, Gods of Egypt, Robin Hood, Emoji. Oh, Emoji Movie. Gods of Egypt was horrible. I mean, yeah. You got to make up words to describe how bad Gods of Egypt is. But Emoji Movie is like an abomination against life. The Emoji Movie is an abomination against all that is good and right in the world. The Emoji Movie is just that bad. And, I always feel a little bad saying stuff like that because there are people who poured their hearts and souls and lives and blood, sweat, and tears into creating and making that movie. And I don't want to diminish that at all. But it's our job as fans to look at something and say whether we thought it was good or bad. And, maybe you like the Emoji Movie. And that's great. That's the subjectivity of film. That's awesome if you did. But to me, it was an abomination against life and goodness. It was just that awful. So I got to go the Emoji Movie. Okay, where are we at now here? Murray Reich writes, Elseworlds 3-hour movie was awesome. I wouldn't say it was awesome, but I got a kick out of it. I enjoyed it. Batwoman looked pretty good. Nice Batman references. Yeah, a lot of Batman references. Huge amount of Batman references. Do you think her show will happen? If yes, do we see Batman? Do I think her show will happen? I'm not sure. I do know that after seeing it, though, I'm up for it. As a fan, I'm up for seeing it. I didn't know if I would be after watching Elseworlds, but having watched Elseworlds, I go, yeah, I see the potential here. There's a great built-in mystery. Batman and Bruce Wayne just disappeared 3 years ago. Bruce Wayne just up and left Gotham 3 years ago. Why? Where did he go? What's he doing? How important is it for him to abandon Gotham City? Huge questions. So there's a built-in mystery right away that it sounds like if they did a Batwoman show, it would be about her trying to unravel that mystery of where did Bruce Wayne go. So I'm cool with that. Do we actually see Batman in the CW? I don't know. But if they do, oh my God, my fear right now is that they do to Batman what they did to Superman. Just bring him in to be a jobber for the derivative character, for Batwoman. And God, if they did that, It pains me to even think about it, dude. Pains me to even think about it. John DeMoto writes, SAGs and Critics' Choice released their nominees last couple of days. Overall thoughts, do you care about these at all? I know you hate the Golden Globes. I actually like this. I mean, the SAGs, because it's the actors. The SAGs are the actors. SAG is Screen Actors Guild. All the major actors belong to the Screen Actors Guild. And it's they that are voting on it. So there's an importance to that. The Broadcast Film Critics Society, and I want to be careful what I say here because I have a lot of friends who are in the Broadcast Film Critics Society, which does the Critics' Choice Awards. They have undermined themselves over the last few years. The Broadcast Film Critics Society used to be my third most relevant, most important award show. Only behind the Oscars and behind the SAG Awards. In recent years, though, they have done the worst thing you can do. They started being more concerned about getting people to watch their award show than they were about having the integrity of the show intact. To me, the Broadcast Film Critics Society shouldn't even care if they have an award show. I don't care if they have a show, just announce your awards. And what they started doing a few years ago is they started making up all these BS categories just so they can include popular titles, just so they could try to get more attention for their award show. And when they started doing that, I kind of stopped caring. Now, the Broadcast Film Critics Society is still a much more legitimate one than the Hollywood Foreign Press. Far more legitimate, in my opinion. And I don't have any kind of disdain for the Broadcast Film Critic, the Critics' Choice Awards. I don't have any disdain for it. But I will admit that as somebody who just a couple years ago was very enthusiastic about the Critics' Choice Awards, a few years ago when they started making all these really terrible moves and showing terrible lack of judgment, I kind of just started tuning them out. Again, I have no problem with the Critics' Choice Awards. No, it's just that when they started making those moves and adding a whole ton of different categories, putting the importance of their once-a-year broadcast show over the integrity of what the body is, I just started going, meh. Then I just stopped caring. And I just tuned out. And by the way, I know that the Critics' Choice Award nominees got named the other day. I didn't even look them up. That's how much I just don't care about them anymore. So, it's unfortunate, but whatever. And again, I got to be careful because I have some friends of mine, I have some dear friends of mine that I respect greatly who are a part of the Broadcast Film Critics Society, which is great. I just think their awards have kind of become a bit of a joke. But anyway, that's just me. All right, let's see. Where are we at here? James Welsh writes, when do you think Peter Jackson will direct again? Good question. I mean, look, they've talked forever about him doing another Tintin movie, right? And then him and Spielberg keep talking it seems like we're still going to do another Tintin. And yet, no, never do we get another Tintin. It's never happened. But then we keep hearing this might happen, whatever. So, again, look, when you go to first of all, he's got that documentary, They Shall Not Grow Old. So don't discount that. But even when you go to his IMDb thing, the only thing he has listed as a director is The Adventures of Tintin, Prisoners of the Sun, announced. Yeah, but it's been announced for years. Whether or not it's ever actually going to happen, I don't know. And before he did They Shall Not Grow Old, the last movie he directed was 2014. It's 4 years ago. And that was the final Hobbit movie. Now, if you watch any documentaries on The Hobbit, you'll know that nearly killed Peter Jackson. I mean, he was exhausted and beaten and just all that kind of stuff. And I don't blame him at all for wanting to take a break. He's done a lot of producing. He's got this Mortal Engines that he's put a lot of work in as a producer. I would love to see him get into the director's chair again. I really would. But honestly, no new news at this point. Trey Gaming writes, I saw Robin Hood. I kind of liked it. Good mindless action movie, as I would put it. Although I do see why people don't like it. You know what, Trey? That's two beautiful things right there. Number one, that's the beautiful thing about the subjectivity of film is that, no matter how much a movie is hated by a lot of people, you may still enjoy it. And no matter how much people love a certain movie, you may not like it. And it's perfectly valid because of subjectivity of film. But the other beautiful thing here is this. I love it when film fans can go, yeah, I watched it and I liked it. But you know what? I totally get why people don't. That's great. That's the attitude film fans should have. That is the attitude film fans should have. Not, I liked Robin Hood. Anybody who says they don't must have an agenda. Anybody who says they don't must secretly hate Taron Egerton. Anybody who just don't like men in tights. You know, that sort of thing. That's an attitude and film fandom that is very prevalent and needs to die. But it's always great to see a film fan who goes, yeah, hey, I like this movie. But yeah, I get why people don't like it, but it worked for me. Good attitude, Trey. All right. We have no lives. I like that username, writes. First super chat. Any word on Sherlock Holmes 3? Well, they were talking about a Sherlock Holmes 3 with Jude Law and Robert Downey Jr. forever. And then it got delayed. And then the actors would talk over the years about, oh, yeah, we're going to try to get something together then. And that time comes and goes. But just recently, they came out and said, yeah, we're doing it. The only thing was it didn't say that the director was coming back. They didn't say Guy Ritchie was coming back to direct. They didn't say he wasn't coming back to direct, but they said Jude Law's on board, Robert Downey Jr. I haven't heard any more information since they said, yes, we're doing a Sherlock Holmes 3, and that was just earlier this year that they said that. So, and clearly Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law have both been very busy with their MCU stuff. Jude Law, of course, has got Captain Marvel coming out. Robert Downey Jr.'s got Avengers 4. So they've been very busy. Plus, Robert Downey Jr.'s got that Dr. Dolittle movie he's got coming out as well. So I haven't heard any new updates other than just, I believe it's still coming. Sebastian writes, I'm going to go watch The Mule this weekend. Thoughts? Well, I haven't seen it yet. But look, very rarely have I been disappointed by a Clint Eastwood movie. Very rarely have I been disappointed by a Clint Eastwood movie. So I'd say you're probably in pretty good shape there, Sebastian. Okay, let's move on here. HV39000 writes, would you consider sneaking in an unfinished box of candy into a theater that I bought from that theater from the last movie I watched there wrong? Interesting ethical conundrum you've placed before me. Okay, so here's the thing. I do believe bringing food into the movie theater is wrong. I don't judge anybody who does that. My wife does it. Drives me crazy, but she does. Because, like, as somebody who used to work for a movie theater chain, I know that's the only way they keep the lights on, is through their concession stand sales. That's the only way they stay in business. They don't, because they hardly get any of that ticket price money. They get the vast majority of the ticket price money goes back to the studios. They survive on concession stands. And they say, if you come into our theater, you're not supposed to bring in food. So you shouldn't do it. I don't do it. So you shouldn't. But again, I don't judge anybody who does. That's just my opinion. Now, I hear this old, very lame argument. Yeah, well, they shouldn't have their concessions so expensive. Hey, look, I know concession stand prices are expensive. I get it. It is also how the only way they stay in business. But just because it's expensive, that doesn't justify, like, saying, well, that Porsche is too expensive for me to own, so it's okay for me to take it. That doesn't make any sense. Like, if you just don't want to eat in the movie theater, just don't eat. Just don't buy anything at the concession stand. Don't sneak something in. But again, I'm not going to judge anybody who does. If you do that, that's fine. Like I said, my own wife does that. And now I just ratted her out to the whole world. And now the guys at the movie theater are going to be sitting there at the front door with security guards waiting for me and Ann to show up. And they're going to frisk Ann when we get there because I just ratted her out to the whole world. Anyway. But I'll say this, HV. It's a very interesting conundrum you put up. If you bought that candy at that theater, to me, I think your moral slate is clean. I think your moral slate is clean. If you bought that, if you buy a box of M&Ms and you get halfway through it and you bring it back with you the next day to go see another movie, you know what? That's food you bought at that movie theater. As far as I'm concerned, you're good to go. As far as I'm concerned, you're good to go. Stella McShave writes, do you think Tom Hanks would be a good Oscar host? Oh, for sure. I mean, Tom Hanks, it's hard for us to imagine it now, but in the earlier part of his career, he was just the comedic guy. Tom Hanks was a comedic performer. He is one of the most revered, respected actors of our generation. Yes, Tom Hanks would be a great Oscar host. I have no doubt he would be a great Oscar host. Easy Target writes, after all these years, do you ever still notice new things while watching Star Wars? Yeah, that's not just a Star Wars thing. That's movies. That's the great thing about movies. Because what we do, we're creatures of habit, right? Even when you're watching a movie you love, and you watch it 1,000 times, 99 times out of 100, your eye always goes to the same thing, right? Your eye always goes to the same thing because we are creatures of habit. That's our viewing habit of that movie. And there are tens of thousands of moments in movies. And yeah, to this day, I'm not going to say every time I watch Star Wars, I see something new. Not every time, but yeah, I quite often, to this day, notice things in Star Wars that I never noticed before. But again, I don't think that's just a Star Wars thing. I think that's a truism for most movies, that you'll always see something new if you look close enough and if you look through different eyes. Murray Reich writes, Chargers versus Chiefs, Thursday Night Football, who you got? And what about Browns versus Broncos? I'm going to actually surprise you. I'm going to say Chargers. But the game is in Kansas City, and Arrowhead is a tough place to win a game. I am still going to take Chargers by 1.5, and I'm going to take the Broncos. I think that's a winnable game for the Browns, but I'm going to take the Broncos. I think they just seem to be ramping it up. Even in their losing efforts, they're doing some good things, so I'm going to go Broncos. Sebastian writes, I'll await your review, but Mortal Engines is DOA. I mean, the box office does not look good. 10 to 17 million. The critic rating, last time I checked the critic rating on it, it wasn't great. It was at 35%. So let's see here. Mortal Engines it's dropped a little bit more. It's down to 36%. So people aren't saying it's horrible, but they're also not saying it's all that good. So we'll have to wait. Again, I'm going to go see it tonight. I'll talk about it on tomorrow morning's show. But, yeah, it's not looking like it's as good as we were hoping it was going to be. Let's see. Luke Woodward writes, I went and saw Instant Family with my mom, and we both loved it. It was a really fun, sweet movie. Too bad it won't get a lot of attention. You know what, though? Hold your horses. It actually hasn't done all that bad. I mean, I honestly thought Instant Family was just going to completely crash and burn. Where did it go? Hold on a second. There we go. I thought it was going to completely crash and burn at the box office. Like, totally crash and burn. The movie right now has made $61 million, $54 million domestically, and it's only opened in a couple of foreign markets. Instant Family, at a $48 million budget, like 61's not enough, but I think when it's all said and done, I think that's going to be a movie that actually breaks even. And like I said, $54 million domestically, I'll tell you what, that's more than I thought it was going to make. Honestly, I pegged Instant Family, did not have a very thorough or a very great marketing campaign. I thought Instant Family might make 20 or 30 million domestically. And it ends up making it's already made over $54 million domestically. So it's getting more attention than I thought it would. And I think it deserves that attention that it's getting for sure. HV3 9000 writes, would you say the Aquaman movie is reflective of what DC was in the past, or is what DC will be in the future, or somewhere in between? I think me and Robert talked about this the other day. I think this Aquaman movie is reflective of where DC is heading. I think this Aquaman movie is a reflection of where the DC universe is heading in its cinematic movies. Brighter, more humor, trying to inject more fun into it while maintaining the iconicness of their characters. Because whatever you may say about the lighthearted nature of Aquaman, blah, 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 you get the feeling this Aquaman would lose in a fight to Superman, but he'd give Superman a run for his money. Like that, I just get the feeling, especially if they fought in the water. I thought this movie did a good job. Again, I don't think Aquaman is a perfect movie. I think it falls short in several areas. Not surprisingly, it falls short in several areas that I find James Wan normally falls a little short in. But he still makes incredibly crowd-pleasing, entertaining films that I enjoy watching very much. And there were a few scenes that I thought this movie really could have done without. But overall, it's a winner of a film. It's a win. And DC needed a win. And it's definitely enjoyable to watch, and certainly fun in a lot of places. It's a lot of fun to watch. And I thought they also did a pretty good job of establishing the iconicness of their character. And they certainly do set up Aquaman as an iconic guy. But yeah, I think more than anything else, HV3, I think this movie is an indication of where DC is heading down the road. We'll find out when Shazam comes out, but I'm pretty sure that's the new blueprint. We'll have to wait and see. Damned Opinions writes, I'm going to go see Deadpool, Spider-Verse, and Aquaman this weekend. The thought is still insane that I get to do that as a fan. Keep them coming. I know, right? I mean, Robert Meyer Burnett, which, by the way, feel better, buddy. Robert Meyer Burnett says this all the time, but it never ceases to be true. Robert will often say, and Robert's a little older than most of us, but Robert will often say, there was never a time in my life that I could have dreamed that in the span of a couple of months, I could see the Avengers on screen, and Ant-Man on screen, and Aquaman on screen, and Deadpool on screen. Like, these were things that there was a large period of time that never even would have been possible. As film fans, we live in an age of wonder. And you're right, man. I mean, just look at that lineup. Deadpool, Spider-Verse, Aquaman, all this. By the way, don't sell Bumblebee short. Bumblebee is a hell of a good time at the movies. Bumblebee's a hell of a good movie. I think most people are really going to enjoy Bumblebee. So check that one out too. Nathan Oswald writes, Ed Harris still hasn't won an Oscar. True. Ed Harris still hasn't won an Oscar. I think he's won an Emmy, though. I think he's won, you know what? I think he may have won a couple. Let me just double check that here. And I know he was nominated for an Academy Award before. He's been nominated for an Academy Award 4 times. For The Hours, Pollock, The Truman Show, and Apollo 13. I think Apollo 13 was one he really could have maybe won for. He has won a couple of Golden Globes, big deal. And he's never won an Emmy. He was nominated for 3 Emmys. He was nominated for Empire Falls, Game Change, and Westworld. I'm not surprised about the Westworld one. But, I actually thought he won an Emmy. So you're up. Ed Harris, another actor who's got to be in that conversation. Now that Gary Oldman has his Academy Award, Ed Harris is in that conversation now, best actor not to have an Academy Award. He's got to be in the conversation. Let's see here. Martin Volek writes, saw PG-13 Deadpool yesterday, not much bonus stuff, but you must stay until the very end. There's a very nice tribute. I couldn't hold my tears, man. Well, I haven't seen it, and I haven't heard about it. I'm guessing it's a Stan Lee thing. Again, to me, the best Stan Lee cameo ever was in the first Deadpool. Stan Lee as a strip club DJ. Are you effing kidding me? The best. You can't buy love, but you can rent it for 3 minutes. Stan Lee doing that, man. That's forever the best. And I honestly didn't think they would do a Stan Lee thing. And maybe you're not talking about Stan Lee, but I can only assume you're talking about a Stan Lee tribute. So if I do get out to see it, and I'll watch it at some point, I'll definitely stay to the end. Thanks for giving me the heads up on that, Martin. Juan Mia writes, hello, John. I'm torn between Bumblebee and Aquaman on opening weekend. Which one should I see first? Man, I'm telling you what. Good question. Good question. It's a question I myself was torn about before seeing them. I'd always kind of thought I'd lean towards Aquaman, but you know what? I'll say that, and I liked Aquaman. I think Aquaman's good. Good critic rating, 77%. It's a crowd-pleasing film. It's a win for DC. Shockingly, I'm going to recommend Bumblebee first. Hell yeah, I'm going to recommend Bumblebee. You know, what does Bumblebee hold? I've never once looked up Bumblebee's critic ratings on here. Let's see where this is at. Bumblebee. Holy shit. It's got a 97. It's got a 97. Wow. And critics have not liked the Transformers movies, but they are giving the big thumbs up to Bumblebee. Yeah, I feel pretty good saying Bumblebee. Definitely see both. But yeah, I'd give the nod to Bumblebee on this one. It's a really good little movie, man. Luke Woodward writes, Mortal Engines is surprisingly one of my most anticipated movies coming up. Trilogy, maybe? Well, look, I was really excited about it too. I thought the trailers got progressively better. Obviously, you got Peter Jackson attached. An original novel series that has certainly a loyal following. But if this movie does indeed, and we're going to flip over here for a second, if this movie does indeed open up at $10 to $17 million, I don't see how, in any reality, in all of the multiverse, I don't see any way that Immortal Engines 2 gets made. I just don't see it. If this movie opens to under $20 million, a movie that cost $100 million plus to make, and it opens to under 20, that's a tall order, dude. That is a tall order to get another one made. So again, and I haven't even seen the movie yet, so I'm not talking about the quality of it. But whether it gets another one made, it's all about how does it do. And if this holds up, and maybe it won't, maybe Mortal Engines will surprise us. Maybe it'll come out and make $35 million opening weekend. And you know what? $35 million opening weekend, maybe you can think about a sequel. But at these numbers, it's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine these numbers. So I don't think it looks good, Luke. We can keep our fingers crossed, but right now I don't think it looks good. HV39000 writes, I love the super chat. Oh, thanks so much, man. I never use it to send in many questions to shows like this. I used to worry, is my question good enough or off topic? Here, I don't worry. At least I'm supporting the show. Oh, well, thank you so much, HV3. I really appreciate that, man. And yeah, I mean, look, I've talked about it before, but, you know, super chat isn't right for every show. I get that. It's not. But, you know, it killed 3 birds with 1 stone. Number one, because like every show I would get hundreds when I was taking tweets, I would get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tweets, only have time for like maybe 15 of them or whatever. And then everybody would get mad that we didn't pick their tweets or we didn't pick their emails. People used to send me hate mail, like visceral, angry. I've sent you 8 different questions and you never pick my question. And I get it. That's frustrating. But I can only pick like 1 out of every 100 questions that get sent in, right? But doing super chats gave us a mechanism that, number 1, supports the show. Number 2, gives the viewers a mechanism that if they really want a question asked, it doesn't matter how big or small the question is, that you have a mechanism that guarantees your question will get answered in a video. Because even if I don't have time to answer the question on the live show, I'll do it in a companion video. And it gets less people angry at me. So it's a win-win-win. It's been great. So thank you so much, HV3, not only for participating by sending in your topics, but also for supporting the show. So I really appreciate that. And this show's only here because of people like you. So thank you so much. Hannah Ringswald writes, have you seen Love, Simon? Love, Simon. I've actually talked about Love, Simon quite a bit. It's not just a cute movie. It's a movie that transcends, like a lot of people look at it and they just think, oh, it's a movie about a gay kid. No, man, it transcends that. It transcended that. It was not just a cute little movie. It's a solid motion picture. In a story about the human experience, I thought it was just a good movie. It wasn't just a good movie about a gay kid. No, it's a good movie. And it didn't get enough attention. It didn't get enough attention. So yeah, I really quite enjoyed it. Let's see. Dimsum05 writes, if you are reading this in a companion video, which I'm not, all questions answered on 12/12 were sent before the show even started. Well, yes, so far, yes. Since you sent in this question at 9 a.m., that means all the questions we've answered up till now were sent in before we even started the show at 9 o'clock. Very true. James Argento writes, Pixar just announced their next movie called Onward, starring Pratt, Tom Holland, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Octavia Spencer. Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. None of these animated movies star those actors. Those actors come in for a couple of days and do some voice work. Sometimes some very good voice work, but they are not the stars of the movie. So I'll never say, like, for instance, Toy Story does not star Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. Tom Hanks and Tim Allen go in for a few days, do their voice work, and then leave. While it takes like 2 or 3 years for them to make that movie, I wouldn't call them the stars. Wouldn't call them the stars. But I haven't read about that one, so I'll have to check that out. Clearly, it must have just got announced once I was getting ready to start the show, like from after 8:30 passes. I'm just zoned in on getting the show put together. So I didn't see that news yet, but I'll have to look that up a little bit later. ZCM Zombie Custom Maps writes, have you seen Blind Spotting? Yes, loved it. Yep, saw Blind Spotting. Really very good. Not as good as I thought it would be, but that's only because I had ridiculously unrealistic expectations. Like, I was thinking kind of along the same lines as Green Book. But yeah, it was an excellent film. Koa writes, where's Koa? There's Koa. Koa writes, when people complain about things in trailers, do studios listen and consider it? I.e., how Brie Larson shows no emotion in the Captain Marvel trailer. No, because we are idiots. We don't know the movie. We don't know anything about the film. And I still have a very solid belief that when we see Captain Marvel, we're going to go, oh, that's why she's portraying the character this way in these moments because of this. And we've already talked about a lot of theories about why. I mean, she's clearly she's been reprogrammed. She's a human character who's been brainwashed and reprogrammed, and it's probably requires the character to be a certain way. So no, studios never should listen to fans, because here's the thing, Koa. When you say when people complain, well, who is people? You know, I'll often say this because it's always true. Whenever I always correct somebody when somebody says to me, well, the fans want this. I go, wait a minute, time out. Stop right there. The fans don't want that. You want that. You and a bunch of your friends and some other people you've seen around. But that doesn't mean you speak for the fans. The fans want none. Time out. What you mean to say is you want that, because you don't speak for me. I'm a fan and I want something different than what you just said. So do not say the fans want this. So when you say the people, which people? Well, the fans. No, the fans. There's a lot of people who love those Captain Marvel trailers. There's a lot of people who don't. And that's why, no, the studios never listen, nor should they listen. They should not listen. You know, the great, I believe it was Bill Parcells. It might have been Marv Levy, though. Might have been Marv Levy. It was either Marv Levy or Bill Parcells, I think. Both great NFL football coaches, who once said, coaches who listen to the fans are destined to be sitting with them next week. You know, because they know what they're doing. We haven't seen the movie, so it's pointless for us to complain about something in a trailer that might have a very solid reason about why it's being done a certain way. So no, they don't, and nor they shouldn't. They shouldn't listen to fans at all, because fans are split. Different fans have different opinions. Because then now you got to be on. Are you listening to the fans? Then you got to go, well, which fans do we listen to? So and it becomes, and everybody thinks they represent everybody, and you don't. That's something that I learned. That's something we all got to learn as film fans. Jack Richards writes, will Disney put Studio Ghibli on the streaming service? No idea. No idea. At this point, there's still a lot about the Disney Plus service that we just don't have any idea about. And maybe they've made an announcement, maybe they haven't, but at this point, I have no knowledge of that. But if any of you guys, this is the great thing about this being a community, if any of you guys know more about that, throw it into the comments section or in the live chat right now and give Jack Richards a hand here. All right, Catholic Jack writes, Mowgli Legend of the Jungle broke my heart and warmed it at the same time with great acting and gritty charm. Have you seen it? It's one of this year's best. I thought it was bad. I'll be honest with you, Catholic Jack, I thought it was bad. I was excited about it. I am a big Andy Serkis fan. I adore Andy Serkis. But Yeah, I mean, I just, to be honest with you, not only was I not impressed, I quite frankly thought it was bad. Not awful, not a dumpster fire, nothing like that. Let me just see if I can find something here that I can share with you. This might take me a second. Okay, hold on a second. I don't know if I can find it here. Hopefully I can. Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to. Okay, well, anyway. I love Andy Serkis. Just love the guy. I thought it was a very interesting idea to do another Jungle Book. I was all for it. And then Warner Brothers dumped it, and I thought, well, that's a bad sign. And yeah, and then I watched it the other day, and I'm like, just disappointed. I was disappointed the whole way through. There were some nice moments. But overall, it really did feel like a poor man's version of Jon Favreau's Jungle Book. And to me, it didn't have any of the emotional heart that the Jungle Book had. It didn't have any. It didn't work for me. But that's why we say, Catholic Jack, all film is subjective, and that you watched it and enjoyed it, that's great. And I celebrate that. That's awesome you got to watch it and have such a good positive experience with it. And that's what the movies are all about. All right. Ed Tan writes, thoughts on method acting. But who are some of the great non-method actors? Shouldn't we admire them more than method actors? I'll continue with Ed's, because they have the skill to internalize a character without going through this intense process of actually living in a character's shoes. No, I wouldn't respect, I don't give any more respect to any, whatever method works for an artist to do their art, that's the best thing for them to do. If certain actors, they find what works for them is to approach a role in a certain way, and that's what gets them their best results, great. If there's another actor who prepares for a role in a completely different way, but that's what gets them their best results, great. But I don't think any one is superior to the other. It's all individual to the actor. And by the way, I'm no actor, so I can't speak to that authoritatively. All I'll say is this, is that the greatest actor of all time is a method actor. Daniel Day-Lewis. He is the best. He is the GOAT. He is the Bret Hart, the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be, is Daniel Day-Lewis. And he is staunchly method. But that doesn't mean all the great actors are. Not at all. So it really depends on whichever works best for that particular actor, because we're all different, we're all unique. Different athletes prepare for their athletic endeavors in different ways. They all have different training routines. They all do different little things. Whatever works best for the individual actor is what they should do, and that's what we should admire. That we shouldn't think one method is better than the other. Nah. It's an actor finding what works for them. And if doing method is what brings the best out in one particular actor, then by all means do method. If doing another system works better for another actor, then they should do something else. So I don't think either is inherently better than the other. That's just my thought. But then again, I'm no actor, so I don't know. Toonie2 writes, okay, John, I wasn't sure about watching the Arrow Flash CW stuff. Now I'm sure. Never watch this crap. Well, I mean, Toonie, to be honest, again, look, I am incredibly pissed off about what they do with Superman. But the Superman stuff is maybe out of the 3 hours, is maybe about 7 minutes of it, right? I think overall, Elseworlds is worth watching. It's good. It's entertaining. They do some really cool stuff. It's thinner than like Crisis on Earth X. It does feel like just a setup for Crisis on Infinite Earths coming next year. Yes to all of that. But it's still worth watching. It is. There's enough good stuff in there that I believe is worth watching. Just, if you're like me and you don't see them dragging Superman through the mud, then just tune out the last 5 minutes. Just don't watch the last 5 minutes. Let's see here. Franklin Donahue writes, there's been some unconfirmed rumors going around about Keaton in, I don't know what FFH is. Idea, Vulture, Far From Home. Guys, please don't use abbreviations. Idea, Vulture on trial with Peter as a witness. It would be a funny new take on Peter pretending to get pictures of Spider-Man. I mean, I don't know. Again, that idea could be the worst idea in the world depending on what the structure of the movie is. What's the story? Or it could be the best idea in the world, depending on what the story is. It's hard for us to say what they should do when we don't know what the overall picture is, right? But we've been hearing forever that Keaton was going to be in it. At this point, I'm expecting him to be in it. How much of a role he's going to play, not sure. I mean, frankly, at this point, none of us really know how big he is. But I will say this. He is one of the big reasons that Homecoming was so good. And, that end of Homecoming with, one of the inmates, and I forget who it was, that approaches Keaton and goes, "You know who Spider-Man is?" And he's like, "Nah, man, I don't know." Was he protecting Spider-Man? Or was he, "I want Spider-Man to myself to kill"? That, I still don't know. They did it so beautifully ambiguously with Michael Keaton that I had no idea which kind of direction they were trying to go with that. But I love what they did, and I love how they executed it. And whatever role Keaton plays in this movie, Franklin, whatever role he plays, I know it's going to make the movie better for it. How they should use his character is dependent on what their overall story is for the movie. So we can't really speculate too much on that. They should do this and this and this. Well, maybe that might not fit in with what they're doing with the movie. How will it tie into Mysterio and all that kind of stuff? Don't know. But I do know this, Franklin. Michael Keaton being in your movie and reprising this role the way he did in Homecoming, nothing but good news. Nothing but good news. Guitar Dude 513 writes, "I miss the people when we were then." Oh, me too. Ooh, I miss the people we were then. Me too. Got me. I don't know. Do you guys know that one? Jump into the chat board and let Guitar Dude know if you know the reference. That one I don't know. Tinnis Flado Mendoza writes, "I read somewhere Peter Quill in Guardians of the Galaxy believes in Santa. He was little when taken from Earth. He meets aliens, advanced tech. He probably thinks Santa's an alien. Well, I mean, I don't know if he thinks Santa's an alien, but think of this. He's taken from Earth probably when he was still at the age where believing in Santa is still feasible. But then goes off into the galaxy and sees amazing, mind-blowing, wondrous things. If you were that age, and then you're taken into space, and you see all of that, all these mind-bendingly, miraculous, amazing things, is the idea of Santa Claus really all that far-fetched at that point? Does the idea of kind of an ageless immortal who lives, remotely, and then once a year does something to kind of bring joy to the earth, seeing the things that he saw, is it really that hard to imagine that individual would still actually believe in Santa Claus? I buy it. I completely buy it. I completely buy that kid would still believe in Santa Claus because he would only have seen things that would reinforce that beliefs. Tinnis Flado, he would only have seen things that would reinforce that belief, even if one of those things was that Santa was an alien. Or maybe he's just an immortal being that happens to be, I don't know, but it opens up a lot of possibilities. It's an interesting question, man. All right. Helena Maras writes, "I don't know why you hate on CW Superman. It is Superman from Earth 38, not Maine. And it is clear it is different version from Superman as we're used to. Superman is the only Superman they have because there is no Superman on their Earth 1. So the Superman on Earth 38 is their Superman. Just like there is no Supergirl on Earth 1 in the CW universe. Supergirl dwells on Earth 38. So there's only one Supergirl and there's only one Superman. Superman, again, I'm not going to go into it in all depth again, but there is no DC universe. There is no DC comics. There is no DC if it wasn't for the character of Superman and Batman. Without those two characters, your company doesn't even exist. They are the godfathers, the kings, the granddaddies of them all, the highest peak of the Mount Rushmore of superheroes and the pantheon of superheroes. You need to treat them with a certain amount of respect. And if you're going to put the S on this character's chest, and you're going to say this character is Kal-El of Krypton, that this character is Superman, you need to treat that character with a certain level of respect. That doesn't even mean he needs to be perfect or completely invincible. But to just take every opportunity to undo the pants, do the power squat, and shit all over him is unacceptable. And I don't care what Earth they say he's from. It's unacceptable. So that's just the way I feel about it. Hey, man, it is what it is, though. Guitar Dude 513 writes, Injustice 2 reference if you didn't get it. Oh, the one about the people we were, me too. Is that what that was? Awesome. It's been a while since I watched Injustice 2. By the way, guys, Year 1, the comic book collection of Injustice Gods Among Us Year 1 is some of the best writing in a comic book I've read in ages. Read it if you get a chance. Thanks for following that up, Guitar Dude. NTNLV16 writes, funny how Barry, kind of like the audience, acknowledges that Batman is the OG vigilante over Green Arrow in the crossover. Supergirl should take notes. Yeah, well, they seem to be treating Batman with the proper reverence. That even the superheroes like, oh, Batman. Like even Barry, and it's like, man, can we go? Maybe we'll see Batman. Maybe we'll see, like they're all just geeking out. And there's this one really charming point where he's like, Barry's just like, can I sit in the Batmobile? Like, it's just that they all have this reverence for Batman. Even though Batman's not there, they have this reverence for Batman. And yet, unbuckle the pants, crap all over Superman all day long. Didn't crap over him enough? I tell you what, let's have Superman say, the Earth doesn't need Superman. They've got Supergirl. Did they really just make Superman? Anyway, I could rant about this for the next hour, but I'm going to resist. I go to the right place. I will actually pull up the correct thing. Okay, the mule was made for, if I can ever get there. They haven't released official numbers. I thought I heard it got made for about 50. That's what I thought I heard. Knowing Clint Eastwood, maybe might have gotten made for a little bit less than that, but what I heard was 50, but I can't get official confirmation on that, so don't take that as gospel truth. I'm just saying I heard it was around 50. Could be less, could be a little bit more. I can't see it being much more than that. Anthony Luculano writes, do you think in Infinity Crisis, if the CW will kill off Supergirl and replace the Supergirl show with a Superman show? Oh, no, are you kidding me? No, they just spent all this time crapping all over Superman and saying about how Supergirl's better than everybody. By the way, also in Elseworlds, near the end, as Supergirl and Superman and all the adjunct characters of the Supergirl show are about to walk through the vortex to go back to Earth 38, you got Cisco says, see you later, you're my favorite Kryptonian. Superman is standing right there. And they're talking about, you're our favorite Kryptonian, Supergirl. And then Supergirl's like, well, your favorite Kryptonian says goodbye to you too. And meanwhile, Superman's standing there. Like Superman is just chopped liver, apparently. Superman is just a giant pile of dog shit. So they're sitting there saying, first of all, if you had two people visiting you from Poland, right? Two people visiting you from Poland. Even if you say know one much more than you know the other, you don't go up to them as they're both standing there and goes, see you around to the best Polish person I know. You're the only good Polish person. Buy my favorite Polish person, and not even acknowledge the other person from Poland there. That's just rude. That's just rude. But they have to keep piling on. No, Supergirl's our favorite. Superman is standing right there. You're the best Kryptonian. You're our favorite Kryptonian. As Superman is standing there. No, they are not going to kill off Supergirl for Superman, who they've just been jobbing this whole time for the Supergirl. No, they're not, and nor should they. I'm not suggesting that you get rid of the Supergirl character. Not at all. I think the Supergirl character is a good character. I think the girl, I keep forgetting her name, Benoist or something like that. The girl who plays Supergirl, I think she does a great job playing the character. I think she's exceptional. But they ain't killing off Supergirl for Superman. No way. Let's see. Miles Pardo writes, CW Soups is what Aquaman used to be. Yeah. Actually, the way they're treating Superman is kind of the way we all used to think of and treat Aquaman. That's actually a pretty good observation, Miles. Anthony Luculano writes, I meant Crisis on Infinite Earths. Oh, yeah, Anthony. I knew what you're talking about. No worries. I knew exactly what you were talking about. Devontae Brown writes, Punisher coming in January and canceled in February. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I don't know if you think you're joking, Devontae, but I don't think you are. You're absolutely 100% right. Punisher is going to come out, and then as soon as it's out, after it's been out for a couple weeks, they'll announce it's canceled. And then they'll do step and repeat for Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones will come out, and then the announcement that it's canceled. Because apparently the rift between Netflix and Disney, now that Disney has their own streaming service coming, has just gotten too big, and Netflix is just saying, we're wiping our hands of you. It's unfortunate, but I get it, but it's still really unfortunate. Let's see. R.C. Murray writes, where'd RC go? RC Murphy writes, what animated films have ever gotten Best Motion Picture Award? Lion King should have got Oscar award, but it didn't. No animated film has ever won Best Picture. 3 animated films in history have been nominated for Best Picture. Beauty and the Beast was the first animated film in history to be nominated for Best Picture. And then Toy Story 3 was nominated for Best Picture. And I believe Up was nominated for Best Picture. So those are the 3. I believe it was Up. Also, now I got to double check just to make sure. 1 second here. So Up, which came out in 2009. I know the other 2. Beauty and the Beast was the first one ever, the first animated film ever to be nominated for Best Picture. And Toy Story 3 got nominated for Best Picture, and it was Up. Up was the 3rd one. It was nominated for Best Picture. So those are the 3 that have been nominated, but none have ever won. None have ever won. So let's see here. Ben Sultan writes, why blame the CW? Blame at Warner Brothers. There's one who's letting them use Superman. Look, there's a whole bunch of blame to go around. But it's a CW show. It's on the CW network. There's some blame to be put on Warner Brothers, sure. But the lion's share of the blame belongs on CW. They're the ones who are deciding to use Superman this way. Warner Brothers is giving their blessing, so I don't let them off the hook either. I mean, now they're getting rid of Henry Cavill as Superman. They're doing a lot of bad things to Superman. Anyway, but to me, Ben, and I see where you're coming from, dude, but to me, it's starting with and happening at the CW. That's where they're to say, hey, we want to do this. Okay. Yeah, there's some blame to the people saying, okay, but to me, the lion's share of the blame belongs to the people doing it, the ones who are actually doing it. So, yeah, I give them most of the blame for this. Ed Tan writes, wishful thinking, Edgar Wright for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Oh, that would be a great match. I believe there are lots of different people who could direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Edgar Wright would be a fine choice. I think Edgar Wright and James Gunn share a lot of the same sensibilities. I know the 2 of them are friends. Yeah, I mean, Edgar Wright would be a solid choice. I believe there are many good choices to direct it, but Edgar Wright absolutely would be one of them. He would be one of the good choices. Let's see. Baby Boy writes, hey, John, I really tried giving Star Wars a chance to watch, but can't seem to get into it. I know you hate the prequels, but would you suggest I start from the prequels and just go in order from there? Well, I mean, here's the thing, baby boy. Look, like to me, Star Wars greatest films of all time. But all films subjective. Not everybody's going to like it. And there's nothing wrong with you. Look, here's the thing. If you tried watching Star Wars and it just did not click for you, then the problem is not the order you're watching them in. There's not a problem at all. You just tried watching it. Didn't work for you. No problem. Like, don't think that there's something wrong with you as a viewer that, oh, maybe I have to watch in a certain order to make me enjoy this. Nah, man. It's a movie. It's subjective. You're not going to like everything that other people like. You're not going to dislike everything that other people like. And that's true of all of us. Maybe you just tried watching it. Maybe it's just not for you. I wouldn't say watch the worst ones to try to make the other ones look better, but you know what? There are people who like the prequels. I find that insane, but that's the subjectivity of film, right? We're all going to like different stuff at different times and in different ways. So even though to me Star Wars is the alpha and the omega, the beginning and the end, it is all things movies, that doesn't mean I expect everybody else to like it. And if you don't, no problem. You don't. Oh, well. But hey, you know what? Why not? Give the prequels a shot, because maybe you will find those are more your speed. So yeah, maybe give those ones a chance. Carolina 29593 writes, "Good day, buddy. Was wondering if you ever watched, and if so, your thoughts on the Darkest Minds movie. Came out back in August." Oh, crap. Which one was that again? Hold a second. Which one was that again? Oh, the one with Amanda Seyfried. No, I didn't. That one came and went in the blink of an eye. I just remember seeing the ads for it. Did anybody go see it? Hold a second. The Darkest Minds box office. It made $41 million worldwide. It made $41 million worldwide. $12 million domestically, $28 internationally. In total, $41 million on a $34 million budget, which means it lost money. I just remember watching it and thinking, this is an X-Men ripoff. And maybe that's not fair. But the marketing made it look that way. The marketing made it look like an X-Men ripoff. And I remember it just didn't interest me. And then it came into theaters and poof, it just disappeared. Like the Thanos snap, man. It just poof, it was gone and nobody talked about it. So, I never saw it. And so I know it kind of crashed at the box office. How was it received critically? Got a 17% from the critics. Critically, so not positive critically. So no, I didn't get a chance to see it. Probably won't. Unless you're telling me you loved it, I probably won't waste my time watching it. But hey, 17% of the critics liked it, so somebody liked it, right? Act Naturally Productions writes, over under 35%, Yondu appears in Captain Marvel. Ooh. I hadn't considered that. I'm going to take the under. I don't really see there being any need for any sort of connection, but I'll take the under on 35%, but now I'm going to be watching. Now you just gave me something else to look for in Captain Marvel. Now that's interesting. Jay Hart RIC writes, got here late, but have you seen the Burn Bright trailer? Well, Jay, we've talked about the Burn Bright trailer, not just today, but quite a bit over the past couple of days. Yep, loved it. I was completely turned off by it for the first minute, just going, this is just a Superman ripoff. And then it takes its turn and you see what they're doing. And I think it's brilliant. I cannot wait to watch Burn Bright. If you have not seen, Brightburn, if you have not seen the trailer for Brightburn yet, go watch it. As soon as this show's done, go watch it. Charlie Zakari writes, saw Marwen, one of the year's best. Happy holidays. I still haven't seen Welcome to Marwen yet. It is one of my most anticipated films over the next little while. Steve Carell is magnificent. You got Leslie Mann, so a little bit of a 40-year-old virgin reunion there. It looks like something I've never seen before. I mean, I don't know how original it's going to be, but looking at the marketing, I've never seen anything that quite looks like Welcome to Marwen. So I'm very, very stoked to see it. There's 3 really, I think, solid Oscar potential films coming out in the next couple of weeks. The Mule with Clint Eastwood, Welcome to Marwen with Steve Carell, and of course, Vice with Christian Bale. Very excited for all 3 of these, but Welcome to Marwen is probably top of that list for me. Mike Thompson writes, over under 15%, Simon Kinberg gets brought into the MCU brain trust after the merger. He had been shepherding all the Fox Marvel stuff over the years. I don't know. Simon Kinberg is not attached at the hip to Fox. He does stuff outside of Fox. It's not like he's a Fox property. I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under the 15% of that. I think Simon Kinberg is going to continue to do great Simon Kinberg stuff, but I don't know that I see him getting enveloped into the Marvel stuff. I don't think so. It's not an impossibility. I'm not going to say 0%, but I'll take the under on 15% of that. I like Simon Kinberg. Final question of the day. And I know today's show went really long, but it's just me at home, so why not? We'll take the time to get through all the questions. Tristan Brown writes, Captain America Civil War is much better than Age or Ultron. I think you mean Age of Ultron. This is proof the next Avengers movies don't have to go bigger to be better. Well, first of all, Tristan, let's be very clear. In your opinion, Captain America Civil War was better than Age of Ultron. In your opinion, that was the case. So, no, it's no proof of anything. Now, between you and me, I also like Captain America Civil War more than Age of Ultron. Just so you know, you and I are on the same page on that. But that's not proof, but you don't need proof. Going bigger is not always better. Going bigger is not always better. Sometimes smaller is best. Sometimes smaller is best. Look at what some people consider to be the greatest film of all time, The Godfather. It's about a family, man. It's not about taking over the world. It's not about saving the universe. It's about a family and their business. A lot of people consider it to be the greatest motion picture ever made. You don't always have to go bigger to be better. And I agree with that. And I think the MCU needs to change gears a little bit. I think they need to change gears a bit. All right, man. That will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. A little bit of a longer episode today, but because why not? We got the time to do it. Thank you guys so much for coming along for the ride. Listen, don't forget, the John Campea Show will be back again tomorrow. We'll be in studio, and we're going to have our good friend Greg Alba from Real Rejects joining us on the show. Robert Meyer Burnett will be back on Friday as well. Lots of good stuff to come. Special thank you to you guys who are my Patreon supporters. Guys, do me a favor, if you enjoy this program, head on over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. Get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter helps keeps this show on the air, and also some of the little perks of being a Patreon supporter. For instance, a lot of people ask me about podcasts. An audio-only podcast of the John Campea Show is available to Patreon supporters. So just little perks like that, nothing big. And a special thank you to all of you guys who are Patreon supporters. Thanks for doing this. And a special thank you to all you guys who send in the super chats. You give us the topics to talk about, and you support the show as well. Thank you so much. All right, guys. That'll do it for me for now. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.